obviously V-bids were massive, constantly detonating. They were using magnetic IEDs. Taliban were like up in their attack. We had weapons that didn't work. An explosion on Jellalabad Road. A shockwave came through a car, and we were like, if he wouldn't have got out of his car, it would have been us. No matter how good you are as a soldier, you can't control that. Iraq and Afghan came up. You always had this like sense of like uncontrollability. I got 2 offers, and I went to Afghan. Guy dressed in a suit with a briefcase that went inside of an A&A bus, blew that up. And while I was doing that, I started studying forensic psychology. The massive thing that ended up leading to radicalisation was social isolation. Everybody should know about what I'm reading about. I can't believe they don't do it at school. If you show any signs of weakness, it's almost like we can't accept it. You think that I'm emotionless to this, but ultimately, we're only human.
Welcome to the Debrief. This week I have a former Royal Marines Commando, Gareth Timmins. How are you, buddy? You all right?
I'm very well, mate. I'm
Good.
very well.
You've come a long way today, haven't you?
I have, mate. I've travelled down from Leeds today.
Are you a Leeds fan?
No, I'm not.
Only because I'm a Southampton fan. I was
Yeah,
just
I'm
going to
not,
wind into you a little bit as well.
Yeah, no.
Just because I can.
I don't want to start wrestling in here, mate.
So, right, listen, the way this works then, I'm gonna literally debrief your life. So I'm gonna go way back when you was a little lad.
Yeah.
And then we'll work through your military career, find out what you're doing now, and find out where you want to be in a couple of years' time.
Sure, mate.
If that's all right. So
Absolutely.
Let's start. Let's go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Small Gareth, where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from a little mining village called Emsworth originally.
Okay.
I kind of grew up there, and then
Is that Yorkshire type way? Is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
Yorkshire.
Yeah, okay.
Yorkshire,
All
up
right.
near Pontefract, near Leeds.
Wow. Okay.
And I kind of grew up there. From a young age, I was kind of like subjected to like rugby league, really. So I grew up in a rugby league family.
Okay.
My dad was like a strength and conditioning coach at Castleford Tigers.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
a first division, like a Premiership kind of flag club, but adjacent to rugby league. So yeah, I just grew up in rugby league, really, mate, and then started playing the game when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and kind of just.
Okay, so you were sort of like straight in, never picked up a football or nothing like that. It's just it was
No,
rugby league for you.
Yeah, I played football, but it was just always rugby. I love the contact of rugby, so I just kind of naturally kind of like went that way, really.
So, childhood-wise, steady, parents still together, all that sort of stuff, or
Yeah, well, my mum and dad split up when I were about 12 or 13 years old. Yeah, so they split up, so they're separated now. But
when you were small, it was sort of like fairly steady.
Yeah, stable.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time at my grandma and granddad's.
What about school?
I didn't do very well at school.
No,
No.
me too, mate.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I because I'd kind of really dedicated myself to rugby.
Yeah.
I'd kind of I'd signed a professional contract really young.
Wow.
So it was kind of that were always kind of on the cards, like playing rugby, and as a result, I just thought, oh, but like I don't.
What
really
do I need that
school.
rubbish for?
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, mate, I was kind of. I think I had like undiagnosed ADHD as a child, and I just couldn't concentrate. I could.
I think I'd have been the same. I'd spent more time looking out the window, wondering what could be, rather than wondering what's in front of me. Like, I don't care what's in front of me.
We're all like that, mate. We got like predisposed to the military, but yeah, I just didn't do very well at school. Didn't get any GCSEs. Like left with nothing really. Yeah.
No, So, but it was a happy time for your childhood. Do you remember it being as a happy time?
Absolutely, yeah. I had a really, really good childhood, yeah.
And rugby was a massive part of that. And you said your grandparents.
Yeah.
Any service for your grandparents? Any sort of like?
No, my dad was in the Navy.
Right.
He was a Navy diver and a PTI, and my mum too was in the Navy just for a short period. Okay. But that was like I suppose the direct link to the military. Really. Yeah.
So when did you start thinking about the military?
So I ended up at Leeds Rhinos, and they offered me a contract at 19 years old until I was 23, but the money were terrible.
Really?
And I'd kind of.
I suppose rugby's never really, even now, rugby's not on par with what footballers get.
Not at all. No, you definitely.
Unless you're in that sort of like top bracket of international playing.
That's it.
Yeah.
And even then, mate, you've got to be like NRL, Australian. If you're in Australia, you can earn a good whack, but in the UK, there's not really a lot of money on offer unless you're, like you said, like your Kev Sinfields or your top.
Yeah.
Your top
where you're going to
bracket
attract
players.
a few sponsors and that sort of stuff. That's going to bolster your
So
money.
you need a life after. You need a life after rugby league. So I just said, look, I can't sign on that. And I said, can you improve the offer?
Yeah.
And they did a bit. But I said, look, I'll sign until I'm 20. And then after like at 20 years old, can we look at the contract again? They said, no, it's until you're 23. And at that point, mate, you've kind of missed the boat for...
Well, they're robbing your best years out of you, really, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
And you can't establish yourself in another professional team. So I said, right, I'm going to leave. And I phoned my coach up, left him a voicemail.
No, that's quite ballsy, to be honest, isn't it? That's
really,
because, I mean, for a lot of people, to be able to play a sport for a living...
Yeah.
Is a dream. I mean, I always said I could have played for England, but I was shit. Do you know what I mean? That was like the showstopper for me. Do you know what I mean? But you know, to have played a professional sport and to walk away from it because
it was tough, mate. I walked away initially, and then
what did your dad say?
My dad were really authoritarian, and he were like really like hard line on rugby. He were like you know, like an American kind of pageantship parents that like they want they're really hell bent on the kids turning.
Yeah. Johnny will play rugby. Johnny's playing rugby.
Yeah. If you like it or not, you're going to get in car and I'm going to take you to practice. It was like that, and he just said, "Look, if you're not happy with your money, I'll make it up for you." But I just said that breaks my value code. That like it broke. I felt like I was worth more than that.
Yeah.
I didn't want my dad to do that. So I left, and as a result, we had a really, really bad relationship for about 2 years.
Really? Yeah, I can imagine that. Because if your parents are like that, and you've just sort of like been offered the golden ticket in his eyes.
That's it. And he just said, look, well, what are you going to do? And we were like constantly like arguing and fighting and like not getting on. And then, mate, I just watched a brief exposure one night of one early morning of Royal Marines looking for Saddam's sons.
Yeah.
And in Iraq, and I was like, that's exactly what I want to do with my life. I said that to my friend, and like, that were it, mate. It was like this brief exposure on Sky News, and I just thought, that's exactly what I want to do in my life. And it just changed my life instantly. Because I was in no man's land, mate, constantly going out.
So how old were you then?
I was just like...
19?
Yeah, just like late 19, nearly 20. And then that just set me on a course. I just thought, well, the greatest vehicle that I can do in order to get on them kind of elite operations is
to
Royal Marines.
Get yourselves out of the Royal Marines.
Yeah,
so you did. So you went to the careers office?
Went to careers office, mate. Registered. I had to do, I think, 10, 15, 20 pull-ups on a pull-up
What
bar.
year was this?
2000. It would have been like 2003.
Okay, so it was you knew you were going to get a punchy time as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it.
You weren't going to be sat on your hands in the naffy. You were going to be going out for. You were going to get a tear up out of this.
Yeah. I wanted to get on. I wanted to get on ops straight away. Yeah. That's exactly why I went for it. I thought this would be my vehicle to get on operations and stuff in Iraq, and Afghan at that time were just bubbling as well, mate. As you know.
I mean, standing in the way of that is 32 weeks of training, which is no mean feat, is it?
Right.
It's a difficult place to get through. Especially even as a young man, although you'd had a couple of years under your belt and you presumably were fit from your rugby. It's not. Yeah. You're still staring down the barrel of 32 weeks of relative unpleasantness, uncomfortableness, and some minginess, with some goppingness thrown into.
It was absolutely that. It was a gopping experience.
And of course, completely away from where you come from as well, because you're going right down to Lympstone, aren't you? From
right down there, yeah. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, mate, but it was like I think the culture in rugby league and the kind of team cohesiveness that you had being around like them kind of lads. Yeah, it was like a like for like in Marines.
I get that.
Once the lads that like I suppose couldn't hack it had left, you were left like with this really like strong bunch of lads.
Yeah,
and it was like a like for like. So I just felt like kind of at home really. Although it was an horrendous experience, I felt like a level of comfort.
How did you find training? Did you enjoy it?
It was just like a second minute by minute nightmare from start to finish. But there were elements of it, pockets of it that you really really enjoy, and you think, yeah, this is it. This is why I joined.
For me, although probably my training into the infantry probably wasn't as intense as what you had it, but. There's moments that stand out for me. The first time I picked up a rifle,
that's
and realised that that's a gun. That is a gun.
You're like, brilliant. This is brilliant. Yeah. And them like little like pockets of whatever enjoyment or whatever, they're enough to keep you in for another couple of weeks, and then you get like another little bit of enjoyment or success, and it keeps you in. And before you know it, you're kind of at the end.
So did you keep a journal during your time?
Mate, yeah. So just before I got on the...
Because that's really unusual. I've never heard of anybody in their basic training having time to write a journal, let alone, you know what I mean?
It was really... a lot of people have said, like, predominantly, like, ex-boot, ex-Royal Marines have said, like, oh, God, it must have been so easy and you must have had so much time around if you did it, but it was tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough, and it wasn't my intention, mate. My mum...
Why did you do it? Did you... I'll tell you what, so when I did P Company, my battalion 2IC said, Phil, he said, I want you to go down there. He said, and I want you to tell me what it was like. And I tried to keep a journal, and it got found.
Yeah,
the staff found it, right?
Yeah.
And I'd put something down. They'd made us iron our denims after a run. I thought, bullshitting twats, do you know what I mean? And I'd written that down, and they beasted us for it and took it off me, like, do you know what I mean?
Imagine,
so you ran that risk the whole time. Because if you speak the truth in your journal, which you've got to do, there's going to be times when you're going to go, so-and-so's a numpty. Yeah. Didn't need to do that. That was a bit harsh.
It was just really raw and accurate, mate. Yeah. And like, really to the bone. And my mum gave me it on the train station just as I got in on the train. And just threw me this diary as the train doors closed. And she said, look, just write stuff in it, anything. And I thought, what a bizarre gift. I've not done well. It's not my thing, this, to write stuff down. But I was going down, mate.
A potato so you could paint as well.
Some crayons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. And I just, on the way down, I was like, obviously, you've clearly, like, absolutely experienced this, but I just felt such a feelings of, like, trepidation, but also excitement as well, like mixed emotions. And I thought, I need to, I'm just going to write down how I'm feeling. And I just put, like, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. I'm strapped in, but I want to get off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm excited, and I know I can't. And I was, like, on my way down, and, like, it's a long journey down, like, 6-7 hours on the train.
Yeah.
And once I'd put that first entry in, mate, it was, like, every day. Once I did it next day, and once I got a week and got a couple of weeks, I was like, well, I may as well do a month. And then when you've got a month, you may as well do another month.
Yeah.
And then all of it, but like you said, on my 21st birthday, which came shortly after I joined, the training team came in and they were like, there'll be no, like, fucking birthdays in here, and ripped my cards up and just chucked them on the bed. So I thought, if they see the diary, they're going to, like, tear it to pieces.
Oh, mate, you'd have got beasting for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, like, kept it, like, really, really secret for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But at this point, I'd got, like, half a diary, and I was, like, so precious of it. And then all of a sudden, like, one day I was on my bed and he came in and was like, what is that? And I thought, oh my God, like, this is it. Like, same with you, they're going to rip it to pieces. But unbelievably, mate. And we had a really tough training team. They were just like, that's oofing. We think that's brilliant. Just kind of crack on. Yeah.
So when I did it on P Company, although P Company was only, I wasn't there for long, but I remember they got us all in the gym and he started reading it out in front of everybody. And of course, I'm the only one. Everyone else is going, fucking hell. What an idiot. Who wrote that? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, I'm imploding.
You want to, like, dig yourself.
And then they started beasting us, like, you know what I mean? They started just running. They had the heating on in the gym all morning, But I can imagine. So the DS actually thought it was quite a.
Mate, they got on board. They didn't get on board with it, but they didn't.
They understood why you'd done it, I suppose.
Yeah, they were just like, well, we kind of quite like it. So it just allowed me then, I'd waterproof it and take it in the field. Like, there were obviously times, like, when you're doing, I don't know, ambushes or whatever, you can't write your diary or whatnot. And there were, like, 4 or 5 days when I just couldn't physically write because I was knackered.
Yeah.
I'd just write notes on my arms or my hands and then cross-deck it into the diary when I got chance. But it was in itself a large undertaking, but I never did it to write a book.
No.
I just did it just because I suppose it was in a lot of ways just therapeutic.
Yeah.
In a therapeutic way. But
I wonder if anyone's ever done it since. I can imagine you're probably one of the only people to have ever done it.
Yeah, to have done it, to have kind of done it all. Yeah. And there were lads that sit on my bed and, like, I was writing really personal and deep stuff down, and I just thought.
So were any bits that really stick out in your mind that you wrote down? Any bits that you struggled with writing down?
Yeah, I mean, there were, like, some of, like, the really, like, raw aspects. Like, at the start, there were, like, 2 dead flies on the windowsill, and training team came in and they were like, we leave no man behind, make sure that whoever's they eat them. So they made, like, one lad eat these 2 dead flies. And just all sorts of just horribleness, and just how I was feeling, how certain things made me feel, and just the absolute raw nature of training that that they'll never capture on a documentary.
Yeah, I suppose. I remember the first time looking at the bottom field, and there's a group just come off, and I'm thinking that they're in rag order, like, do you know what I mean? You're thinking, I haven't even qualified to get down there yet. I've got to do it. You got on your spot in the gym and all that sort of stuff first. That's it. Before you even got to go at the bottom field.
Yeah.
But they sort of like walked you past it one day, and they're like, "Yeah, that's you in a couple of weeks' time if you're lucky, lads." And I'm like, "Geez, if I'm lucky."
But I mean, bottom field is just such it's an intimidating place, mate, and it never gets any less intimidating.
No, it's absolutely honking, isn't it?
Yeah, you're waiting there and. All of it, you're waiting at the top of bottom field, and you're looking at this back door at gymnasium, and there's certain, like, PTIs that you just don't want on bottom field with you because they'll just don't, like,
want them to come out.
Rob or one of them, and, like, really notable, like, kind of like that boot neck and stuff, and all of a sudden this door gets booted open, and you see like alt PTIs coming out, and you're like, that's all right. Oh God, not him. And oh no, not him. And you're like, oh God. And then you just know, but you just constantly in a sense of like fear and anxiety throughout it. It's awful.
So you passed out first time?
Yeah, I went through as an original. Yeah, unbelievably. Okay. I'd ruptured my cruciate ligament playing rugby, and my knee kept clicking out every now and again. So I went into training and just thought, I'll see how far I can get, and then hopefully they'll keep hold of me because I think I'm a good lad. Yeah. And I'll have the operation. But unbelievably, it went kind of twice, but I got all the way through.
You managed to blag it through with it. Yeah.
I got all the way through. Yeah. I was just so grateful and thankful. There were I think there were 11 of us that were originals at end.
Really? That's not a lot, is it?
Not a lot.
How many in the troop to start off with?
There were 58 of us that started it.
Okay.
But then
presumably when you passed out, you'd have had some retreads and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we got loads of obviously back troopers that come in and people out of Hunter Company. But I think we ran the 30 miler at the end, or started the Commando test with, I don't know, I want to say like 30, 40 blokes. Yeah. And we finished with 26, of which 11 were originals. Wow. Something like that. But all that time there's people coming in and there's people that are just leaving all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like a conveyor belt, but this main structure of 11 kind of sailed through. Yeah.
Good. Happy times, really, when you look back at it, but not happy times at all.
Mate, it's like, I've said this
the fierce amount of pride I got out of things like passing the bottom field, coming through camp on the endurance. You know, when you've done the endurance and you come and you come through camp and people are actually clapping you, and you feel to yourself,
it's an amazing.
I'm doing stuff here, and I'm actually doing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, although it was honking, and I didn't do the 32 weeks, I did the All Arms Commando course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still got that sort of like, the bottom field, Tiles and Assault course, endurance course, 30 miler, massive sense of pride of thinking, I've done that. Do you know what I mean? I've done that. Yeah.
What did you, out of interest, find to be the toughest out of the Commando test?
Probably endurance, if I'm honest.
I hate endurance.
Because it's just minging, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
You get wet straight away. You've got to make your own way up there. Yeah. Then you get wet straight away.
That for me.
And then you just got to struggle back, haven't you?
Yeah, I failed every single run through.
Yeah.
And did it on the day with a couple of minutes to spare, but that were my nemesis. That training.
And then you got to go down and get some rounds on target.
Yeah.
I mean, last thing in my mind at that stage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, isn't it, mate?
Breathing at me hoop, I could almost see out of it. You know what I mean?
It's right.
Just honking. So, and I remember we had one of our run-throughs that we did. A guy called Sergeant Johnson, because we were aware of some senior guys there. Went and hired a minibus and took us up to the start point in the minibus. Well, he got the minibus from someone who knew everybody on camp. Yeah. And they were waiting for us in the car park, and they thrashed us. They absolutely
because you got the minibus up?
Yeah, they absolutely thrashed us for that, because you're supposed to make your own way up, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he's speed march up, right? Yeah, he's like, I've got a minibus, lads. Yeah, go on, come on, get it. And we're like, we're all put. So we got up really early. Everybody sneaked on his minibus, and we got there, and the staff just came straight out. We're like, God, rumbled, like, do you know what I mean? We got beasted.
The last thing you want, mate, is a beasting before that, right?
Yeah. Well, everybody failed that, and then we had to go and do it again. It was like, it's just honking, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Done us no favours whatsoever. Yeah, but that was, going back to what you said, that was the hardest thing for me.
Me too.
I think that course. Yeah. The 30 miler, by the time you get to the 30 miler, I didn't give a shit anymore. Yeah. It was like, I'm getting to the end of this. It's not actually that hard.
That was my mentality.
Yeah. Get my head around this. I'm going for it. Like, do you know what I mean?
At that point, you're just like, it's 8 hours, last test, and you're just thinking like, I'm just gonna. Well, I'm not gonna quit. Clearly,
there's times on there when you hit the road after you've been in, your feet just burn and all that sort of stuff in there, which is proper honking. But
I mean, on that, I got to like 12-mile checkpoint, and I were broken, and I were like, I've got nothing left in the tank here, and I weren't even like halfway. Yeah. And that for me were like a moment mentally where I was like, wow, I'm pretty spent here. I'm not even halfway. But I just kept.
It's touching distance, then, isn't it? You're almost there, aren't you? Like,
you're just thinking like this nightmare is over
for the sake of another 4 hours. It is
4 hours, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you did pass.
Yeah.
You got your lid.
Yeah.
You did your pass out and all those bits and pieces. King's badge, anything like that?
No, I got marksman. I got shooting medal in training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for some bizarre reason, mate, I was like really, really good at shooting.
Wow.
And I kind of probably because I came from rugby, and I had the hand-eye coordination with
the ball,
and it kind of translated to shooting. But I was like, yeah, well, like, my shooting was
no, I wasn't. Nothing like that. I got best improved recruit, which meant I was a wanker when I turned up. They got me over, the staff got me over the line. Like, do you know what I mean?
Most improved.
Absolute tosser. Lucky to be here.
Yeah.
That's what they might as well call it. You know what I mean?
But mate, I mean, it's just you get to the end, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter hook or by crook. So where did you go then?
I went up to Scotland. I went up to
4-5.
I put in for 4-2.
Okay.
But I didn't get into 4-2, and I got sent to FPG, which is now 4-3 Commando. You know Faz Lane where
with the protection stuff with all those weird looking trucks and escorting people all over the place and whatever.
Yeah, I did that. I did that for like 6 months behind the wire. Then I went on a course to do FSRT, that a bit of, like a job that had been handed down from SF, just to do non-compliant boardings.
Okay.
I did that. That's what I kind of wanted to go up and do. So I did 6 months behind the wire, and then I went on a course, 3-week kind of thrashing.
And that's fast roping and
all that, and boat
ships underway and all that sort of stuff.
That's it,
yeah, beautiful.
And honking exercise in Isle of Skye, which had most rainfall in 30 years.
It's minging up there, isn't it?
Awful, mate.
Yeah, and then you get ashore and it's just mid-city, isn't it? Yeah. Mid-central, like that.
Yeah. I had a terrible time on that. It was awful. Yeah. But yeah, I did that and then got on that and then had a great time doing it.
Did you get any jobs? Did you get any?
Yeah, you know when lads got captured by Iranians? Can you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
We flew out like within under 24 hours.
Wow.
To like kind of be their replacement and just crack on with boarding and stuff, but it were a shit job, really, mate. They because there'd already been one team captured. They were so scared of us getting captured.
Ruined it for everybody who had.
Yeah, they were just like. But when we went up, mate, they're like, I got a call from our at a wedding, and my troop sergeant said, "Listen, you've got 6 hours to get to Scotland. I can't tell you what's happening, and I was like, this is brilliant. This is amazing." And when we got up there, they were like, "You could actually like get some good trigger time on this job."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh, this is brilliant." And then when we got out there, they like just wrapped us in cotton wool, and they were like, "We don't really want you to go out on board." We didn't have like a link for mini-me and stuff like that, and MOD won't send it out. It was tin pot, mate. Kind of killed it for me. Did that?
Yeah, that's a bit of a sort of like damn
killed
squib,
it for me,
isn't
and I was just like, "What are we doing?" And I like kind of left them. Like within a couple of years, I kind of I decided to leave.
So that was it. You'd had enough because of that.
Yeah, I asked to go on. I was really keen, mate. I was really like keen Marine when I went up, and I was like, "Can I get on that CQB course?"
Did you get any other tours at all, or was it that?
I did that Iraq one. I did another job to Iraq. I did another thing out in Somalia doing counter piracy.
Oh, okay, all right. So you did get around a little bit.
I did. Did some good stuff.
What was Iraq like?
We were doing like near Kazar and stuff like that. It was just quiet, really, really quiet. It all died off by the time I got out there. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like everybody just looked a bit confused. And it was just a bit.
There was, and it wasn't like Afghanistan where there was mission creep and they were getting into everything, and it's like it just sort of bub.
Well, that were it, and then
unless you were up at places like Alamara and that when it was going off Chinese New Year for a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
up there and sort of, but there were. I get it because being out there as a contractor, there was places that you'd go. It was just like being just like anywhere else. You know, safe exactly. Houses,
just any kind of way in the Middle East. Right? Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Afghan were kicking off, and I did want to go initially to Afghan when I left training, and then. I asked to go. I wanted to go down south, out of Scotland, and I wanted to go to 40. Yeah, 40 Commando. And they said, "Look, we can get you to 40 in 6 months, or you can go to 4-5 now." But 4-5 kept me in Scotland, and I was like, "I don't want it. I want to get out of Scotland. I want to go to like 40 or 42."
Yeah.
But they were so busy with Afghan and stuff like that they couldn't like secure the draft.
Right. Okay. So. That was another. So that pretty much turned you over, and you got out, did you?
Yeah, mate. I did. I didn't really enjoy the culture in the Marines at the time. It was like heavy drinking and stuff like that, and I was just like, this is not really what I thought it was going to be. I was a bit underwhelmed by it, mate. To be honest.
Really.
The Marines, yeah, the life after, in being honest, and I just thought
it's strange that because that culture has reversed itself a little bit now. It's not. Guys are doing CrossFit and
That's it.
Everybody's in the gym, and
I think it's a much better place and a much healthier place to be now. I can't speak generally about the rest of the military, but
did you play any sports when you was in the military? Did you get any rugby time or anything? Because they must have snapped you up.
Yeah, they wanted me to play for Royal Marines core team.
Yeah,
they like tried to tap me up at like week 6 of training. and said that I could play while I were in training, which was like nobody were doing that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I've joined to be a soldier.
Yeah,
I've joined to
yeah.
go on ops, and I'd kind of parked rugby. But that's probably one of the regrets that I had, is that I didn't explore that, because I would have had I could have had a good 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and you might have been able to sway, the sporting fraternity.
That's it.
Managed to sway their postings probably a little bit better than the scumbags. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I never really kind of manipulated that. And I wish I would have done, but I was like so bitter towards rugby that I was like, nah, that's done. And I'd like shelved it.
Wow.
And I wish, like I said at week 6, they were like, oh, you used to play for Leeds and stuff. What will you come and do some stuff with the core? And I was like, nah, that's not why I've joined. But I wish.
No, fair play to you. I mean, you stuck to your guns. You know, when you joined the soldier, you became a soldier, and you did some soldiering. So, you know, what more can you? So you got out. What did you do when you initially got out? What was your sort of like? What did you want to do? Where did you go?
Yeah, so I got out, mate. I started working with kids in care that had been put in care between 12 and 16, and I'd been kind of like employed to like be a really positive role model to them, coming from a rugby league and a role managed background and stuff. And I was like 20, 25, 26, and I just felt like I weren't utilising my skills. I hadn't kind of put the hostile stuff to bed, and I always wanted to do hostile CP, or something, or that kind of private security kind of thing. Yeah. So I initially applied for Iraq and Afghan, but then maritime came up, and I was perfectly situated for that. So I did maritime for 2 years.
Okay. So in and out. Who did you work for?
Solace.
Okay.
Yeah, Solace.
I remember them.
Yeah, I was Solace for 2 years, and I just basically stayed out for nearly a year, mate. Just.
Well, you could in them days, couldn't you?
Yeah, you just going from country to country.
Job to job as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
Ship to
Money
ship.
was unbelievable.
If you were prepared to stay down there, you could stay there for ages, couldn't you?
Yeah.
No one
so
cared,
like
did they?
2011, 2012 were just, like you said, it were unbelievable.
Yeah.
An unbelievable time for it. But you only had a really short window. I mean, none of us knew that at the time. So I did that, and then Iraq and Afghan came up. I got 2 offers, and I went to Afghan.
Okay, doing
bodyguarding.
Okay, who for?
CP for tour.
Okay.
Yeah, I went out for tour. We're a Department of Defence contracting.
Yeah.
Basically, we're like guardian angels. Called us guardian angels. This American term that we were just basically going out and looking after communications engineers that were training Afghan Army how to use radio.
But where were you based?
Kabul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kabul, and we did some stuff in Kandahar and Helmand. We were basically, there were 19 of us, but placed all over Afghan.
Yeah. Good money?
Yeah, it were good. It were all right. I was getting $9,500 a month, tax free.
Rotation?
10 and 5.
Oh, that's all right, isn't it? Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it was nice.
I could live with it.
Yeah, it was nice, mate. Yeah,
happy with it.
Yeah. It was good because you do like first month were easy. Second month you were like kind of looking at the exit, and then the last 2 weeks were just like, I can't wait to go home.
Yeah.
Get home, 5 weeks off, and then come back. So I did that for about a year and a half.
Yeah, 5 weeks is a good lump at home as well, isn't it?
Nice, mate. Yeah.
Any more than that, you start festering.
Yeah. I normally after like 2 weeks at home, I'd start getting itchy feet. But I think because Afghan were like so intense.
Did you get involved in any incidents over there at all?
Not really, mate. No. There were like missed like 2 explosions, one by a couple of seconds. Just all like, as you know, it's like we've got this saying, haven't you? Like, if your time's up, your time's up.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the lads we'd got to Camp Phoenix gates. And he'd forgot his pass, and we'd stopped in car, and he went back to get his pass. And as soon as he'd like got out and like ran 10 metres back, there was a massive explosion on Jellalabad Road, and shockwave came through the car. And we were like, if he wouldn't have got out of his car,
that would have been yours.
It would have been us, and we were in a subsequent vehicle. And it's like stuff like that. And then there were a guy dressed in a suit with a briefcase that went inside of an A&A bus, and blew that up, and we were like, just 30 seconds.
There was a lot of that. I mean, I ran someone over who basically, we were in a convoy going into town.
Yeah.
And he come winging through on his bike when everything had been closed off by the police. I was just running straight over. So I mean, you didn't know in the days, did you? Do you know what I mean? No one knew, did they? You know, you couldn't take chances either because case history said
you can't, mate.
These people do go bang if you let them near convoys. Do you know what I mean? So
it was really kinetic time, really, in Kabul because the Americans were pulling out between 2013 and 2014. So Taliban were like upping their attacks. But I can just remember thinking, like, you always had this, like, sense of, like, uncontrollability, no matter how good you are as a soldier.
Yeah.
You can't control that. And they were, like, obviously V-bids were massive.
They
were constantly detonating. They were using magnetic IEDs on
just
scooters.
ride past, boom, on it goes.
That's it. So you were like.
You had to be so careful. I mean, I was there a little bit before that, but there was stuff like that going on when I was there.
Yeah,
and you just, anything that came near your vehicle really was a threat. And because we were working with diplomats, the vehicles, they knew where you were going, what time you had to get there, so you had to go to the palace. So although the police used to line the routes, you could assume that anything that came near your vehicle was fair game.
Well, the big convoys, mate, were prime target. Right?
Yeah, of course they were,
like diplomatic plates.
Yeah.
Obviously, it got you a lot of buys and it had some privileges, but it also had negatives.
It was a beacon. You are a beacon, aren't you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So we'd often opt to like go out in soft skin vehicles.
Yeah.
Like shmagged up and just like dressed like.
Yeah, we did all our admin stuff. Any other time I had to go out the gate was all done, under the radar as much as I could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Local drivers sat in the back, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But all just because didn't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, we got out there, mate, and. We had weapons that didn't work. None of us knew. It was really like it was the Wild West.
And the other thing was, you weren't really, a lot of these people weren't encouraging you to go down the range because they didn't have the ammunition for you to go and test the weapon anyway.
Exactly.
So you're now cutting around with a weapon you don't really know if it works. You haven't test fired it. It certainly isn't zeroed. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's almost probably going to end up as much use as a club.
Yeah,
and will be used as such.
You've got a lump of metal in your hand. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
I've been there for about 2 rotations, like, I don't know, all in all 20 weeks, and my weapon didn't fire.
Yeah.
So I was just like carrying this weapon that
you're just carrying a lump of, you're just getting bigger arms.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah. Which is often all you're bothered about, right?
Yeah, as long as my arms are big.
It's all about how cool you look, right?
Yeah. So how long, in and out of there for a year and a half? You did a rack as a civvy as well?
Yeah. No, I didn't, mate. No. I got offered Baghdad with Olive Group, but I chose to go to Afghan because I thought it'd be more hostile. And it was. It were more.
Yeah,
more
at the
dodgy.
time it would have been. Yeah.
But then after a while, I was just like, at some point, you're going to catch it up here.
Yeah, I think you keep pushing it. You keep pushing it.
You keep pushing the needle. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You were going to you were going to get hurt.
So you came away from there.
Yeah.
Did you make a bit of dough? Did all right?
Did all right with that. Yeah. Pumped it all into some property and stuff, which were great. I saved all my money from private and stuff like that, and invested it in property.
So you were sensible.
Really
I drank mine.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's another story.
Absolutely.
Not for today. Yeah. So you got back. What was your plans then? Where'd you go? What did you do now?
Yeah. So I got back, mate, and me and my ex-partner, more or less, we'd just had a son. So it was kind of like it was a natural thing for me I lost the edge, mate, to go out and do stuff like that. I no longer had the appetite for it.
Yeah.
And Afghan kind of killed all my appetite to continue wanting to do it. But my son came along and it was just like, I can no longer do this. So I went and worked for Mohammed Al Fayed.
What, in town?
In town, yeah. Yeah, I did that for a year. And while I was doing that, I started studying forensic psychology.
Okay.
And I did that for...
Why forensic psychology? What was it? Flicked your switches about that?
Mate, I were always like really interested in like human behaviour and stuff. And, I started doing criminology, but I didn't realise that criminology the only kind of pathway for that was into the police.
Yeah.
And I wasn't interested in that venture or that avenue.
No.
So like, I didn't really realise it was forensic psychology I wanted to study, but what I wanted to do, mate, was I wanted to like innovate security. And instead of looking at what happens post an event in security, like at what physical measures can we add hardening measures, why don't we look at what if there's any predisposition or what makes people act like they act? So let's merge forensic psychology.
Do you know, it's really interesting you say that, because I've said this before about things like PTSD. You could almost screen for people who are more likely to get it than others. I'm not going to say that you could screen for everybody, because some people are going to get it regardless. Yeah. But you could certainly screen some people out who would be likely candidates, I think. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Some I don't want to call them risk factors, but some kind of lifestyle factors or some like childhood factors that would predispose somebody to that kind of thing. So I was like really interested in lone wolf attacking, and that's what I wanted to kind of look at. What are the determining factors that would make somebody more inclined to pursue that path.
And did you find that there was?
Social isolation were a massive one in childhood. Kids that are socially isolated, kids that are like potentially like neurodivergent.
Sorry, neurodivergent. So as soon as you bust the big words out, you have to break them down into little bits for me. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like autistic.
Okay.
Or ADHD, or suffer with some kind of.
So people are almost sort of like on the periphery of the main group.
Of the main group.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens is they then.
You're worrying me now because I'm there. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, we'll all know it's you if you can't. You know what I mean? Please, you don't go down that line. You'll take some stopping, mate.
So you sort of identified that those were the type of people that were more likely.
Yeah, the massive kind of thing that ended up leading to radicalisation was social isolation that underpinned it.
Okay. So, I mean, we've just had this 17-year-old attack with a knife up in thingy, haven't we?
We've just been reading it on the way down, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much is out there about what his background was, who he was, but that presumably is somebody who would tick a lot of the boxes that you found. I
think one of the main problem is, and what these people kind of generally kind of align on, is that they're socially isolated from the main group. They don't really fit in.
Yeah.
And then they start watching stuff that feeds into their own like kind of belief system of the world.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where these people are then able to radicalise them and kind of groom them towards going off and doing this stuff. So I was just kind of fascinated in, let's stop looking at what happens downstream and let's look at where the water's coming in.
Yeah.
Or where the waterfall starts.
It's still a very difficult thing to do because until they've actually shown their colours by doing something, it's a honking accusation to make. You're likely to be one. No, I'm not. What's the matter with you? Do you know what I mean?
It's a massive thing, isn't it, mate? It's like there's probably thousands of people that could potentially pull the pin.
Yeah.
But they won't. Do you know what I mean? What's the difference between the
thousands that won't and the one that will?
The inclination or whatever, or what determines the then behaviour to then go to stage 3.
Yeah.
And go out and do it. So it is a very, very tricky and complex subject. So I was fascinated in that, mate, and then it just kind of it went on to behavioural science. I got fascinated with behaviour and performance and success.
Yeah.
There were no appetite, insecurity for it. Nobody could see the link between forensic psychology, integrating forensic psychology or psychology with risk.
It's more, I suppose, from the security aspect, it's more the here and now.
It is the here and now, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not, people aren't, hang on a minute, how long is that going to take? No, shut up.
That's exactly it. I mean? Yeah, it's like, what can we do now to stop the vessel from sinking?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where can we put the plugs? And I was like looking at like kind of like the bigger picture. So I eventually went down performance and behavioural kind.
So the same sort of stuff, but you're now identifying people who are or routes to becoming more successful in business and that sort of stuff.
In life, in business, looking at behaviours, links to success, looking at like 1% behaviours in terms of, I suppose, a forensic breakdown really of mindset and fluidity of mindset and how that links to. Performance. Can everybody?
And can anybody sort of like perform at that level? Do you believe?
I think everybody. I think it comes down to nature and nurture debate, right? It's like, was Michael Phelps born, and were he always going to be Michael Phelps, or did he collide unbelievably with swimming?
Yeah.
Same for like people like Tiger Woods. I think at baseline, I think people are born with a specific. Or an innate kind of.
I say that because like, I joked about it earlier, but potentially I'd love to have been a footballer.
Yeah.
But I was shit. Do you know what I mean? So there's no chance. I ain't going to become that footballer. All right, I played at a fairly decent level in the end, and but I was never going to be that. I was never going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So nature is telling me, "No, Phil, you got 2 left feet." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as you'd like that.
Yeah, I think obviously there's no doubt that some people are more physically naturally gifted. Or born more athletic, or have greater propensity to undertake or get better with the motor skills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The balance and how they integrate, racket with the body and stuff like that, like your Roger Federers. But I think that exposure to certain environments that we've been in, especially like yourself with SF and stuff, and all these exposures develop and nurture the mindset, but you need time and familiarity in these places. And to answer your question, mate, I think everybody at baseline has a propensity to perform at a really, really high level.
Yeah. Do you think that everybody can perform at a high level, but you have to find out what it is that you're going to be good at?
Exactly that. You've got to find out who you are.
So whether it's business or whether it be, you know, art or
exactly what
just bullshitting like I do, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. My way around life, do you know what I mean? I'm quite good at it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
you've got to, I think you've got to I think a lot of it is luck sometimes, like stumbling blocks. Like me, we're writing now, it feels like such a natural thing to do, like we're all like, I've kind of found myself.
It's strange, although you never went down that line. Your mother gave you a diary and you filled it out perfectly.
Yeah.
And now you're writing everything down.
Yeah, now I'm like just like a double published author now, and it's like, it's absolutely incredible. But it just feels like all my life, things that I've done up to now have led me here, and now I'm like, the psychology kind of came at a time when my agent said, listen, like your diary's great, and Penguin liked the diary at the start, and they were like, can you send us the manuscript? But then they said, look, all the Channel 4 SAS Udes Wins lads have kind of saturated this market at the minute. So there's no appetite for that. But then my agent said, look, if you're writing 34 lessons in it
and turn it into application in other areas,
and draw out key themes.
So what can you your 34 lessons? Are there lessons in there that stand out more than others? Do you think?
Yeah. So what I wanted to do when I was doing psychology, I just thought everybody should know about what I'm reading about and what I'm studying about, and I can't believe they don't do it at school, because society and us as a human race would be so much better than some shite that we're subjected to at school.
Yeah.
So there were key things within these weeks that I pulled out, like week 4, like I pulled out like the construct of masculinity, like, because they're a really big recruit, really like a masculine male kind of thing.
Yeah.
Big 6'4" ex-bouncer, 1 tooth. And you thought just by looking at him that it would be a Royal Marine. It were nailed on.
Yeah.
But he fell apart after like 4 or 5 weeks. And I wrote a lesson about the construct of masculinity and why it's dangerous that we can latch onto people, or we can make
stereotype
misconceptions about people just based on how they look. And you'll have seen this, mate.
No, but the regiment's typical of that. You know, I mean, people say to me, I've got one friend in particular, I won't say his name on here, but when people find out afterwards, he was in, no way he was in the regiment. He was. Is that the way? And he was good.
Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like the 11 of us that were left at the end. You never in a million years you wouldn't have put money on them getting to the end. You would have put at the very, very start of training. We had to give them a knife, spoon, and a fork to people that we thought were going to fail, and a good majority of the 11 had all the knife, forks, and the spoons.
Yeah.
Because they just looked introverted, geeky, and complete mismatched people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exactly that. And like, obviously, I know lads that are like in SF and stuff, and you wouldn't. They don't fit the stereotype of what you would expect them to be, right?
So in the lessons that you've learnt, is there a couple that you would pick that you would say are invaluable to people, and B, you're sort of like, you shouldn't leave home without them, like, do you know what I mean? Is there a couple in there that you'd go, right, you definitely, when you leave school, you need that lesson. You need to at least know that before you progress.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lesson in the book about attention to detail, and I like drew on like 2 hypothetical characters, the controller and the dismisser, and it was just like it split straight through and through. Who found success and why? And the large majority that didn't. And the controllers were like people that just subscribed instantly to the cultural expectations of the Royal Marines.
Yeah.
And were like consistently really disciplined. And the dismissers were just terrible with time management.
Self-discipline is a huge thing for me.
Mate, massive.
Huge.
Yeah, it's massive. It underpins everything, right? If you're self-disciplined, your habits are really good, and as a result, your routines are really good. And if your routines are like structured and solid, then you'll go on and you should, if it's your appetite's for that, go on and be successful.
Do you think you can instill self-discipline to somebody who hasn't got it?
You've got to do. I think ultimately self-discipline is a byproduct of doing hard things or taking the hard route and stuff like that. And I don't think you can pull somebody off the settee and just say, right, this is how you become self-disciplined if you've not invested in doing it.
You've got to want to do it for a start.
You've got to want to do it. You've got to have an appetite. But I think a lot of it is that some people just don't think that they're capable. A lot of people think they're not ready, and they're waiting for these like objective signs of like, right, I'm ready now. But it never comes, and as a result, you're always kind of waiting. You just need to. A lot of it's I call it intrinsic self-confidence. When you've got, you don't need the extrinsic. Like, I don't need you to tell me that I'm good enough. A lot of people need that. Like, you are good. Like, brilliant. Like, go and do it. When you're intrinsically self-confident, like, you back yourself and you know what your own capabilities are. You know yourself. You found yourself. And I think you've got to find yourself. Yeah,
and understand yourself as well.
Yourself.
Yeah, understand what your capabilities are.
Each spectrum, mate. Like, you've got to absolutely know what you like and absolutely know what you don't like. And you can only really understand the depths of what you don't like through hardship.
Yeah. Do you think there's a point in a person's life where you go, an old dog can't change new tricks? Do you know what I mean? So you look at me, say, for instance, again, hey, you ain't going to do that now, Phil. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it would be, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I
don't think there is, mate. I don't think there is. I think you do put limitations on yourself, but I mean, there's so many. You hear of like people that are like late 60s, 70s that end up doing like back-to-back marathons, or ultras, or running across, I don't know, wherever. So I think that it's all about how closed your mindset is and your appetite for it and stuff and kind of where you want to be. But I think confidence is massive, but you'll only become intrinsically self-confident by keep exposing yourself to tough stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
You've got to condition your mind, right?
Soft conditions create weak people, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that,
So going back to the book, is there anything else that you would pull out of it that you would want me to know?
Yeah, so
I mean, you want me to know the whole thing, really, but is there anything that you'd go, no, you need to, if you take one thing from this book, this is the one thing I need you to know, Phil, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this book is all about like mindset fluidity, how you constantly have to mitigate the fine line between performance, performing well, and not. I mean, resilience for me, I think, is dangerous. I think that like it should be like rebranded as cognitive endurance, because we think that we should always be resilient, especially as men. And resilience is like this enduring kind of quality that we all aspire to and that we've got.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're only human. And we're defined by his emotions and whatnot, and his attentional resources. And I think that if we keep applying resilience, we end up going into cognitive exhaustion.
So you almost deny your feelings by being resilient. You deny what's actually going on.
To a large extent, mate,
fighting against it.
Yeah.
To be resilient.
Yeah.
Whereas you're saying I should embrace anything that's not quite there and take that forward.
It's good to be resilient. It's good to be resilient, but it's not an enduring kind of quality.
Yeah.
At some point, I think always aiming to, because we demand strength from resilience, right?
Yeah.
And anything that's weak, we tend to not like. And if you show any signs of weakness, it's almost like we can't accept it, and you feel that burden. And as a result, you apply resilience, and you constantly apply resilience, and ultimately you end up with bad mental health. So this is kind of saying, look, with physical endurance, we measure that, and we're like, right, you're peaking, you should start competing now, or we'll extend the baseline of physical endurance, and we'll have a peaking phase, we'll have a resting phase, but we cycle it so that we maintain an athlete stays in good physical performance.
Okay.
But with the mental aspect of it, there's no measurement or any cycling. We just keep going and going and going and going until wheels fall off.
So as well as the book, you do some life coaching as well for people, do you?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I do like life coaching, behavioural alignment stuff, habits, behaviour change, mindset coaching, and work with various organisations on cultural change and organisational psychology.
Sporting fields or?
Yeah, unbelievably, mate. I went back to Leeds. I got asked to go back and speak to the first team, and then I've been back and done some other stuff with them. So I kind of closed that loop, and that was a really nice thing.
Yeah, I bet.
And I've just been asked literally last night to go back and speak to the academy and scholarship lads at Leeds.
Oh, okay.
Just before Christmas. So there's definitely a growing appetite from the sporting community for me to do some work there as well.
What would your advice be to? I know a lot of lads get out and lasses, and the wheels come off a little bit.
Yeah.
What would your advice be? Because I've always said that presumably anyone who passes through training has got something about them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, they're not going to get through that training.
Yeah.
Yet, I see a lot of lads and lasses go downhill quite steeply and quite quickly when they get out.
I think one of the biggest things that you can fall victim to is that, like, there's a couple of, like, arrogances that are bred into your military. And one is that, like, all civvies are shit.
Yeah.
And I think that really sells us short, because we come out with this arrogance and this chip on the shoulder, and we think that the cap badge or whatever is going to allow us to walk into various organisations.
I fell short of that when I got out. No one gives a shit about the cap badge.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't care.
And that's
do you know
yours,
what I mean?
right?
What's that? Who cares? Do you know what I mean? They genuinely didn't. Yeah.
What is it? I mean, the amount of I came out and I just thought, right, I'll walk into anything now with Royal Marine Commando. Yeah. And they thought I was part of NATO. Well, they thought I was like, I want water.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what is a Marine.
Yeah.
And then if they did, it was like a massive thought I was potentially intimidating or emotionless, or where are my transferable skills, right?
Has he got PTSD?
Yeah.
That's another one I've had a lot of. When's he going to smash someone in the head?
Yeah, how does he integrate? What happens if he gets angry? And it's like...
I've always said, and I'm a massive advocate for this, that your rehabilitation at the Civvy Street almost should start on the day that you join. Yeah. There should be some sort of pollination with civvies and serving, do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, when I got out, I didn't know where to go to the doctors, I didn't understand where to get... I couldn't articulate anything that I'd done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a weird one, mate, and it's almost like you get indoctrinated into the military. Well, you did, especially like during your time.
And if you look at high-profile regiments yourselves, the parachute regiment, and even some infantry units, you're told the whole time, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about what they're doing in Civvy Street. They can't even tell you.
Yeah, no one gives a hit, Mong. Do you know what I mean?
They're all Mongs or whatever. And like, this is your family now. This is it. Yeah. As soon as you like say I want to leave, they just wash their hands of you, and you're like left on your own. Luckily, I'd always kind of kept my. I never allowed myself to get institutionalized remotely. Yeah, I could kind of see through what were happening. And when I left, I can remember one of the sergeants said to me, I can't believe you're leaving. You're leaving free healthcare and free dental care. And I was like, fucking what? That's not brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
But it's not. Yeah, you do get. I mean, I think in the Marines you call it core pissed, don't you?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You can become core pissed. You can become so focused on.
And it's so detrimental to your integration when you come out. Yeah. But I do think that, like, in terms of like the link between the military and getting through the tough training regiments and stuff, is your entrepreneurial aspects and qualities that you've got are unbelievable, and the link is not
the ability to think outside the box, the ability to cope with
look at
the
how
decision
much risk
making
you've taken
stuff.
on, right? You've taken on, especially like Royal Marines going on selection for SF. You've taken on so much personal risk in terms of the burden of failure and the odds of failure, and you've constantly got over all these like little incremental milestones and obstacles. And when you get to the very end of it, you've got such entrepreneurial foundations that are there. You just need to be told that they're there. Yeah. And start. I mean, look at everybody that's doing like really well now, like the entrepreneurs. Like obviously they've got your Through Dart lads. They're
brilliant. I love to see it as well, because I love to see that. We've had the guy from Combat Fuel on here today.
Yeah, they said this morning.
Going really well. Do you know what I mean? Doing great guns, and there are people out there doing well. And that's the sorts of story I want to see that, and I want to promote that, and I want other people to look in and go, that could actually be me.
And it's brilliant. And it's brilliant. And I think that breaks down the stereotype positively for ex-military personnel. Yeah. Because it's like, wow, wait a minute. They've actually got some brains, these guys, these men or these women. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, mate. And I think there needs to be
the Through Dart one there, as you said, is a great example, because they come across as so professional, so well cut, so well versed, thrusting into business. Do you know what I mean?
Really well. Yeah. Like hats off to them. They've done really well. They've made it so cool. Yeah. And I think that they've been a beacon for changing the
perception of the armed forces for civilians. Exactly. Yeah. I still get this thing where sometimes go, I'll give you an example. I went out shooting with the Guinness family, you know what I mean? And I'm almost expected to kill things on the floor and break all the rules. That's Phil. He's mad.
Serious.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, that's not probably the image that needs to be portrayed.
That's
you know
it.
What I mean?
That's it. I mean, I got sacked from a job. Just as my first book came out, my head was probably, it was on that, and as a result, I got sacked from a job in Leeds. And when as they were sacking me, they said, "Look, we appreciate that you've been to like war and on operations and stuff, so this is probably not a big deal for you." And it were a massive deal for me.
Yeah.
A massive, massive deal. And I was like sat there just thinking, I can't believe that you think that I'm emotionless to this, and that this doesn't affect me. This is massive for me.
Yeah.
This. And it were
I've got a lot of that in the media stuff with Sky.
Yeah.
Oh, you won't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I do care. I'm trying my best here to do as well as I can.
Yeah, and I was like,
and you're mugging me off.
On that job as well, mate. We'd been to Malaysia, and I'd give some money to an homeless person.
Yeah.
And like the guy that I was working for, he was like, I can't believe you've just done that. Like, I can't believe that you would do that. Like, you've got so much empathy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he'd got this stereotype of me being like this emotionless guy.
Yeah.
That didn't even see this.
It's definitely there. It's definitely 100% there. You know, and I get it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it never goes, mate, does it? It's like it's such a rigid identity that you've got. It's really hard to shift.
Yeah.
It's really hard to shift, and people automatically think that because it's a taboo job that you do, that you must have a screw loose.
Yeah.
Or there must be something wrong with you. Or you won't go out.
Or
and
you've
do
seen
that.
too much.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
know what I mean,
That's,
innit?
yeah.
No.
Or at any point, if we met you angry, you're gonna like explode and pull
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
It's just not true, is it?
Yeah.
So moving forward, what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, so I want to bring out book 3.
Okay.
I've wrote like a proposal for that. I'd like to do some form of like a teenage kind of children's book.
Okay.
I love the writing, mate. I'm really doing it. At the very, very start of doing a PhD with Surrey University on gauging atmospherics and how we can apply that to corporate business and innovation, and look at how we can make faster decisions that are more accurate.
Okay.
Remove top-down bias.
And
stuff like that. So I'm doing that, and I've got my own kind of 0.1 mindset and training and fitness and clothing.
And have you drawn quite a lot of this stuff from your experience within the Royal Marines?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's been a massive. It's been a massive thing of just growth, really, mate, and self-reflection, and just being and the psychology, and just integrating it. And I just think I found a way of like kind of being able to articulate.
Yeah, because you look. I was going to say you look like you really understand it. You certainly can articulate it, and I think that's a skill in itself. Because some of the lads and lasses that get out don't understand it, and so they can't articulate it. But they've got it.
They've 100%
got it.
It's there, right?
Because you were making critical decisions in critical times in critical places. Throughout your career.
Yeah.
Yet you get out and it's like, oh.
You don't. It's almost like you've got all these skills, but you're not told that the skills.
Yeah. So you don't recognise it.
Yeah, and you don't know that you don't know how to articulate that and make the link between the military, or create the bridge between the military and the corporate environment.
I mean, it's certainly not for soldiers, but then you hear about these Ruperts who get out at captain level, thrusters who perhaps don't get the career choices that they want, and they walk straight into business because they understand it, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So these young captains that get out, top third captains that go straight into these big banking companies in the city on
corporate security management jobs, right?
150 grand a year straight away, boom, they're in, they're off, and they get it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and I think that needs to be that almost needs to be sort of like extended into the ranks. In some cases, when you look at a guy that's gone all the way through the ranks, started off as a private soldier, probably with a limited education before he got there, how tremendous has he done?
Mate, do you know what I mean? Some of the best officers or leadership teams or leaders that you have gone non-commission.
Yeah.
And then they've got the commission, and they're the best guys. But I think that there's another stereotype and barrier to going non-commission. Is that people just think that you're like your cannon fodder?
Yeah.
Or
I've heard it called that before.
Yeah, you can't do anything without taking orders.
Yeah.
And that's another barrier. And it's just not true.
I've said it before when I've done talks, you know what I mean? When I came, all I was qualified for. And it's true, and that's why I say it. All I was qualified for when I did the tick box at the careers office was infantry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But people automatically would then turn around and look at me and go, twat. Do you know what I mean? You thick bastard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the image that they walk away with.
Yeah, it's that.
Twat.
It's that. And it's like there's so much. The problem with the military is that people generalise it massively, and they don't acknowledge or appreciate individual variation.
Yeah.
So they're like, military. All right, yeah, you just fit all these stereotypes or this preconception that I've got of the military, and it takes away all your individual qualities.
Yeah.
And the difference in people in general.
Yeah.
But we do that in psychology in general. We take a group of people and think that they all fit this particular stereotype, and it rips away individual variations.
Yeah, it's proper interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. So where can we get your book?
So it's on obviously it's in Waterstones, Amazon, Audible. It's on audiobook.
Wow, okay.
Apple Books.
Did you read it yourself?
No, I didn't.
I read mine. It's murder.
Oh, mate. I did. Yeah, I did the first one. The first one that I did was I did Me Now.
Yeah.
And the 20-year-old me were done by a voice actor, but I had to go and record it for 2 days in Sheffield. And I hated the experience, mate.
Yeah, it's a tiny little room, isn't it? Tiny little room.
It were
right up against your face like that.
Yeah, and you've got like these headphones on. Yeah.
With your own voice booming through.
Yeah, and there's like somebody saying like, can you just go back for smooth, and can you do that sentence again?
Make me rage because he's got this geezer going, yep, no, you'd say, no, it's my book, you. Do you know what I mean? I'm upside down now, don't tell me. What's your book called?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, mate. Yeah. So I was just like, I had these guys in my ears, and because I'd put so much effort into the book, I didn't feel like I could articulate it. I didn't feel confident enough to articulate it, so I was like constantly worrying that I was like carving it up. And then I came back for the second day. I didn't sleep that night, and I was just in shit state. So on this one, because it was like really complex and whatnot, I was just like, look, they offered me the opportunity to do it, and obviously some cash, but I was like, it's not worth the cash for me. I won't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
plus, if you think you're going to muller your own work, then
exactly. I just thought I'd rather a voice actor do it. So they sent me a couple of voice actors, and we selected who we thought were the best.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So at least you had a hand in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not so bad, is it?
Yeah.
Listen, I hope you become a friend of the show.
Absolutely, mate.
We'd love to see any other work that you do.
Yeah.
And who knows, perhaps have you back on again and maybe talk a few things through further on down the line. But for today, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me, mate. I really appreciate it.
Nice one.